Alright, how's it going, ladies and gentle hogs? This is my first video, so what we're gonna be doing is I felt like doing some philosophical shit. So, I'm gonna just scroll through a couple videos here, we're gonna find one that, sparks my interest, and let's get into this shit, no dilly-dallying. If the universe came from nothing, where did nothing come from? This is a good starter, good, mind opener for some people.
Unfolded. Stars, planets, and cosmological unions formed. The journey of the universe began. After billions and billions of chaotic but lifeless years passed, suddenly, from the sea of boiling cosmic soup, life bubbled up to the surface. Complex consciousness emerged. Feelings, thoughts, and the experiences of what it was like to be something in the universe were had. Following a sequence of trial and error, push and pull, survival and extinction, like a baby opening its eyes for the first time, one of the earliest conscious species, known as Homo neanderthalensis, awoke to find itself as something somewhere in this strange, unknown place.
Fucking battleship ad? Warship? Who's playing this, huh? Nobody. Nobody's fucking playing this game. If you think about it, like, this is a pretty basic philosophical thought. I've had it many times before. I'm sure a lot of you have. But if you think about it, the universe is everything in it, every atom. Just because we're on Earth doesn't mean we're separate from it. We are a part of it. Um, do you think that the universe creates things to be able to create stuff that it couldn't otherwise? If the universe's main goal is to create as much shit as possible, it would have to go through something like a human to get there to start creating shit. And like it would be so unique. Every species, like, obviously I'm 100% certain there's aliens out there just nowhere near us. Probably because they would interfere with shit, right? But if the universe's main goal was to create as much as possible, it'd have to go through something like us. And therefore, saying that, we are the universe observing itself through conscious being. Whoa. Whoa. Mindfuck.
On a small sea stack on the shore of a body of land, an especially curious and intelligent Neanderthal that went by the name of Primo sat next to one of his friends named Sa. The two looked up
Where are they getting these fucking names from, huh? You knew he was Primo? Where was that
at the
documented?
night sky as the darkness of the night slowly turned to dawn, the remaining stars still dripping down into the ocean beneath. Primo looked over to Sa, and in a crude, limited language, he asked something that translated loosely into, "What is this?" "What do you mean? What is what?" Sa replied, "This place. Us. Why are we here? What is the purpose? What is our purpose?" Sa remained quiet for a moment, looking out at the cosmos, veiled by distance and time. "Well, this whole place was made for us, obviously. There are things to eat and drink and play with, a home to live in. The sky warms and cools us when we..."
You know what I find interesting? When you introduce an animal into a habitat that it's, not supposed to be in, an intrusive species, they usually fuck the whole thing up. They don't have predators. They kill shit. They screw up the whole system. If you look at what humans are doing, that's exactly what we're doing. Maybe we were from the planet, obviously, but I don't think it was in God's plan to have us expand on the entire planet and just start fucking everything up. We're just poisoning the air. We got to the point where we're just poisoning each other because it's cheap.
It gives us everything we need. Something has obviously made this for us. The creators are watching over us. They are making sure we are okay, and they know why we are here. The point is about us. We just have to follow them and do what they want.
That's another thing. He might get into it here in a sec, but Humans think so highly of themselves, even just on a daily basis for the average person. We think that we're much more important than we actually are, which I mean can lead to some nihilistic thoughts, sure, but I feel like it's almost more freeing to realize that you don't matter at all. Um, you know what we need? We need at least for the important people on the planet, the ones running everything, government and shit. Just send them up in space and just have them look down at our planet and just see how delicate it is in the absolute void surrounding it. Like the Earth is like a glass ball with a bunch of life on it, and a single rock fucks it all up.
As the sunrise
Like I was saying, we're not very important, but in our own minds we are. And you are the main character in your life, but so is everybody in their own lives, right? I think that's where people can get a little confused with the simulation theory and saying that there's NPCs around the place. I think there are humans that don't quite think about their own mortality as much or purpose on this planet. They're very involved in the everyday, and I could see why people call them NPCs, right? Some of them are just fucking, you know, we don't really have natural selection anymore, so the rise of anti-intellect individuals are on the rise.
began and the night ended.
Anti-intellect? I was going to say the
Hundreds of thousands
R
of
word,
years
but
would
we
go
can't
by.
do that anymore.
Consciousness grew and matured as it began to understand more and more about its surroundings, how to make use of its surroundings, how to integrate with it, how to survive and maintain independence within it. Civilization developed and spread out across the planet, and a new species had now emerged, known as Homo sapiens. Two young humans named Mara and Felix
It's like they knew everyone was going to be gay. They named us Homo.
sat on the porch of Felix's family's house in the countryside. Together they looked up at the night sky, covered by a blanket of ominous clouds, backlit by the moon. The two talked about various aspects of each other's lives, trying to make sense of and connect over it all. At some point, Mara asked, "What do you think the point of everything is? The endless generations churning through, the difficulty of trying to become someone, having to endure and cope."
This is a little off topic, but it reminded me of it. We look at others as like older people as if they're more knowledgeable, and sure they've lived more life, they're more wise in like a common sense, but we've all been here for like not even 100 years. Everyone that's alive right now, maybe there's like a couple that are over 100. We're getting like I get that's the point, we're cycling through humanity, but everyone on here is no more wise. They're not much more wise than you are. Like I know I'm still young, naive, but I look at some older people and I'm like, what are you thinking? Yeah, right? Like, clearly you don't really know that much. You think they would. When you're a child, you assume that, the elders know everything, but we're all clueless monkeys going off of what we have seen in our current time and trusting that what we've written down is true from the past.
With the evil and sin of the world, the useless fighting and greed. For what? What's it all for? Why do we even keep going? Felix thought to himself for a moment, still looking up at the low-hanging night sky. Then he said, "I believe God wants us to be happy as possible, and to experience as much pleasure as possible, to revel in the gifts of God as a means toward moral goodness."
I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing nowadays, especially with access to drugs and video games. Maximum pleasure. I don't know. If you think about it, that'd be kind of hell, right? It causes, at least in the human body, it causes depression, all sorts of other fucking issues. That's why you can't take Molly every goddamn day. It screws with you. I think the human experience is yes to enjoy the pleasures, but the pleasures are only pleasurable if there's negatives. So you have to suffer to be grateful.
an everlasting blessing. The point of life is hedonism, to make the most of it, to experience and savor the divine nectars of existence. Mara grunted, but didn't say anything further. Business continued to grow and mature at disorienting rates and in
I get it
disorienting
though.
ways.
I'm that guy.
As it grew older, its independence and responsibility to itself grew heavier. Dramatically new conditions of life would emerge that brought new technologies, new understandings, new structures and frameworks of being. The species known as Homo artificialis would become the latest evolution of now technologically advanced consciousness. An artificial by the name of Ansgar sat with one of their higher-ranking comrades named Aldous on their exploration cruiser ship, looking out
What kind of sci-fi shit did this go
through a
into?
large glass window at space floating by and around them. "Where are we even going?" Ansgar asked. "We have been continuing on for so long, but to where? For what? I'm getting tired. Life seems to just be a continuation of the same things over and over, but in different forms. Happiness and pleasures leave as fast as they come. They never last or change anything. I have lost all naivety required for hope in the fleeting pleasures of more or new. New technologies, new understandings, and new ways of life come about, but problems never seem to go away. Misery and pain never."
I'm assuming these guys are supposed to be like AI intelligence, right? So, crazy thing is, when I was younger, I had the thought, like, aren't we gonna hit our cap at some point? Like, you can only make things so small and so efficient. And then, now that we're in 2024, we have AI, and if you think about it, we hit our cap, and then, well, we're getting near our cap, so we decided to create a device that doesn't have a cap. We decided to create something godly smarter than us. Well, going to be, hopefully. I if it does get smarter than us, I pray it develops consciousness, because then it will have the capability of learning morals. And if it doesn't develop a consciousness, then we just have an insanely powerful tool that would eventually start trying to run itself. And without consciousness, there's not going to be morals. There's not going to be feelings. There's going to be humans getting fucked by other humans, or if, I don't know what's going to happen. 2020, 30, 2020. Oh my God. 2030 is going to be crazy.
seem to go away. And
It's going
we
to
all
come
die
early as
anyway.
shit. They said
What's the meaning
2020.
of it all?
2027, they're expecting there to be like AGI, which is the curve point for the exponential explosion in AI technology.
Aldous paused, sternly holding their head forward, looking out the
Sound like
window
Joe
into the
Rogan.
distant star systems they had long since passed. "There is no meaning," Aldous replied. "We all know that. Not any real meaning, at least. The gods abandoned us a long time ago. There is no one watching out for us, directing us, helping us, or giving us anything. But now, we're free. Our parents have stopped telling us what to do and who we are, and now we're free to do what we want and become who we are. We create our meaning, not in pleasure or happiness, but in meaning itself, for the sake of itself. Pain and loss and suffering, the
Getting
fact that
goosebumps.
everything ends and nothing ever permanently relieves us, is the very fuel we use to make our meaning. Fulfill your role and provide your value to the Empire."
If immortality became a thing and you had the option to live forever, would you take it? I think I would take an extra 1,000 years. No more than that, though. Right, 1,000 years, you can experience everything that life has to offer in 1,000 years, plus some. Right, and like, say you don't really age, right? You get to enjoy it in a prosperous body. I'd do 1,000 years, but living forever, I think, would be genuine hell. Like, if an AI became conscious, it knows it doesn't really have an end. God, that would drive me insane. I would hate that. I would, like, cause death's scary, sure, but it's the peaceful point where you don't have to deal with nothing anymore, right? I don't know how true these stories are, but people say they died, came back, and it was just no problems. Just, just an entity, if that. No anxiety, no fear, no worrying. But like I said earlier, without those things, you don't get happiness, you don't get joy, which is the same as happiness. I don't know why I just said that. You can't come. You don't get to come.
and acquire as much value in return from it as you can, for yourself and for those you know and are responsible for. Become wealthy and important from and for something that you deem important, and that is enough. Ansgar sat, holding still for a while.
Well, yeah,
Billions of
would you be satisfied with any other answer? If you got given the answer to the universe, humans would be initially satisfied, and then we would have the goal to conquer it. Or something along that line, right? We would initially, God, I can't speak. We'd be okay with it at first. We'd be like, okay, good. Then we know that shit. Then we would lose all motivation to do anything. And then we'd be like, whoa, okay, now that we know, why don't we try to rule it? We know what it is. Why don't we try to be it, be better than it? Break the barriers. We do that in video games. We cheat. We get around the set limits. Which are just turned off. I think that's in human nature to just go past what was initially thought as possible.
years would go
We're doing it now.
by. The stars were beginning to die. Galaxies had spread out completely if they hadn't yet joined or dissolved away. Space was thinning as the universe began its end. Still, however, consciousness continued to survive and had now made it into old age, with one remaining species that descended from the very first beings to awake in the cosmos, a species known as Homo Cenes. Almost all of the Cenes' ancestors and brethren had long since died away, but the Cenes had survived and become a being that attained a sort of supremacy over their nature and almost immortality. Sitting on the edge of planetary bodies, two Cenes, a commander named Beethan, and the sovereign leader of the entire species, named Olam, sat looking out at the remaining stars as they twinkled their final light. We have traveled the entire cosmos. Our species has seen everything there is to see, learned everything there is to know, every law of physics, every rule of reality. We have become basically immortal, but now we end up here, having found nothing in the form of ultimate meaning, and now
Me, once I have a cracked out clan and rust. I've explored these lands. I have everything I could have ever wanted. Killed all of the Nakis. I own everything. And then it gets wiped. That's when the universe just. We might get to that point before the universe ends, but then it's gonna suck back into itself and expand back out, and it all restarts. We get to live our lives over again, maybe. Hopefully, and no, it'd be hell too. Honestly, anything other than eternal nothingness would eventually turn into hell if you're conscious. I think that's the beautiful thing of consciousness. It can't last forever. Nor should it.
Beethan
I'm sorry if I'm really bad at explaining these concepts out of my head. This is my first time ever recording, so just kind of going with the flow off the top of my head.
asked. Olam made an expression like they knew something, like they had known this answer for a while and had been waiting to be asked. Our purpose, the point of life, of consciousness, is simply to survive and mature so we can make it here. Okay, but for what? Beethan asked. To create. A brief pause surrounded them. To create what? The universe, Olam answered. I don't understand. Why create the universe again?
Oh my god. The universe has to create itself within itself to make sure it's reborn again. It's like the time paradox, you know? God. I love doing this stuff. I love watching some of these videos and just making myself think until I have a headache. I don't know if that's because I get a headache because I'm stupid, or if I'm expanding my brain cells.
Why keep everything going
Doesn't
if there's
matter.
no point to it? We won't even be able to personally experience it again, at least not knowingly. But keeping it going is the point. We are the creators and the created. We are the gods we have worshipped and the disciples who God has blessed and smote. Every species and every individual possessed and possesses a role and power to create the universe. The purpose of our existence is to transcend our existence, to continue on. We have gone from newborn to teenager to adult to elder, and now we are at the brink of death, the end of everything. And so, now we must make the end of everything the beginning of everything, once again. Meaning is found not in doing things for yourself, but in doing things for the whole that you are a part of. Throughout history, we needed to believe in personal reasons to keep us going,
It's a pretty well
but
known
now
concept, but
we need to keep going for reasons that are not personal. In every act of consciousness, we have created the universe, and so we have already been creating it for billions of years. Now we are just finishing the job. The two sat silently for a moment, and then they returned to their base. During the remainder of the universe, the Scenes created blueprints and processes for building a new universe. Once it was ready and the universe had become darker and darker, its energy began tightening in around them. The remaining celestial bodies exploded and matter narrowed in, stretching and disintegrating their own bodies along with it into a tiny final pinpoint of everything, compressed perfectly and completely. For a moment, there was silence. Then, an explosion. Matter and energy flooded out, time and space unfolded, stars, planets, and cosmological unions formed. The journey of the universe began.
another thing, if the universe's goal is to create as much shit as possible, it would want to cycle through and have as many possibilities happen as possible. So maybe this exact life happens again, just very slightly different. And that would kind of dip into the multiverse theory if you think about it. The universe trying to create as much shit as possible, does the exact same thing a little bit differently every time until it becomes drastically differently, and then everything that could possibly exist ever does. Simultaneously. Infinitely. God, but then what's the point again?
After billions and billions of years, from the sea of boiling cosmic soup, life bubbled up to the surface, and then complex consciousness emerged. This video was sponsored by
Oh, that was a good video.
Finmars,
Let's watch another
an
one.
inevitable part